Hello and welcome to the Growing Pair. I am Isaac Goldfarb, and with me here is
James Edge.
James. Listen. It's Sunday morning.
hmm
Usually we are not recording on Sundays. We're usually recording on Friday, and because of things happen and change of plans and all of that, we are recording it on Sunday, and
Hmm.
it's kind of tied with the topic I'm gonna bring today.
hmm
And it's changes. How do we deal with changes? And I think this is such a wide topic to discuss about. But when I said to you the word changes, James, what the first thing that come to your mind?
Well, I initially linked it in with doing it today on a Sunday, and I actually thought quite positively of it. I think doing it on a Sunday morning actually has a different vibe than when we
Oh,
usually do
tell
it
me
on a
more.
Friday.
What's the vibe you're feeling?
We do it on a Friday, and we're both doing things during the day. It's kind of like a nice break to take on that Friday. Whereas Sunday morning, it's kind of
You're feeling chilled.
feeling more chilled. We still got the whole day ahead of possibilities. So in this way, the word change, when you mention it now, is like, actually, it is quite a nice change to do it on a Sunday morning. I'm not saying we do it Sunday morning every week
No.
because I only woke up. I only woke up just over an hour ago, but it can be positive. Is basically what I'm saying here.
For me, this is what change is sometimes you are the driver of the change, right? You're making the change. You make the decision, oh, I want to change something in my life. And sometimes the changes are coming like in a force on you. You're not expecting them, of
Yeah.
good things, bad things, but changes happen in your life. How can we look at changes as an opportunity to grow?
For me, it automatically change equals like learning because if you're doing something different than what you're currently doing, you will go through a new experience and hopefully you will learn something from it. They kind of go hand in hand for me, learning and change. How do you see it?
Before the learning, there is a missing part. I feel it's the acceptance part.
Mm,
We talked about it just before we recorded. We talked about, redundancy.
hmm
And many people face in their life at least once
mm,
redundancy. For people that the work they're doing or the place they're working for, it's kind of bringing them stability, security, salary. Suddenly they're being made redundant. It's a big change in their life.
mm.
Then there is this stage where, unless you got to a point where you accepted it,
Mm.
I'm not sure you can start learning from it. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think we then need to differentiate the change, i.e., is the change forced upon you, i.e., outside of your control, like a redundancy or a divorce, things like that. That's forced upon you. The ability to have in your mind, oh, this is great for my learning, is probably not going to come straight away when it's just been, thrust upon you. But on another occasion where you're aware that you want to make a change, let's say I wanted to make a positive change in my life, that's when I'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to learn something from this. I'm enforcing the change because I want to do X, Y, and Z. And that's where you kind of have a more positive aspect to you're going to learn from it.
I would like you to think about changes you made to your life
Yes,
recently or not
many.
recently. Many. As any change you made, not what that was forced on you, any change that you made, have
hmm
you accepted yourself from the moment you decided to make the change?
What do you mean by accepting myself?
So I can give you my own example.
hmm
9, 10 years ago, I made a decision to split from my previous partner and the relationship that lasted 11 years. It was my drive, it was my change that, was forced on my ex partner, was forced on my kids, but it's a change that I was driving it. But I found it really hard to begin with. Even though I'm the one that decided to make that change, there was a process where, okay, where is my life going to be now? How I'm going to do X, Y? This is a whole completely new, but the drive of the change was really, really strong and I wanted to change it.
Mm.
Now I looking back, I said, oh, I learned so much. Or, in the process of financial learning or how to manage by myself as a parent, there were so many learning points, but the
Mm.
beginning was not the learning, it's the acceptance. So even the change was driving by me, I still think there is an acceptance process before the learning starts.
By the acceptance process, do you mean accepting that what you've been doing before no longer exists and the future is full of uncertainty? That is
Mm,
that what you mean?
yeah. And I think the length of the acceptance process changes from case to
Can
case.
can vary. It just made me think of when I broke up with my ex, and there was a long accepting phase there. That was more thrust upon me. So if I look at something like a another change, let's say that I've done recently, which was just in my control, it when I started sobriety, so I haven't drunk for 9 months now. It's going to be tough to let go of the past and hanging out with friends in that environment. And also, like, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but that was very much, I was still thought there's going to be benefits from this when I went through that. So the period of acceptance, let's call it, was maybe just a couple of weeks, let's say.
Mm.
Where I was like, okay, this is different, this is weird. But then once I started to see the benefits of everything, it just completely didn't have that acceptance and just thought about this is great. What else can I learn about myself doing this? Yeah.
I want to throw into this cooking pot, this podcast.
Hmm.
Because for me, making this podcast wasn't a big deal in terms of going online, speaking about things, putting myself out there. How was it for you?
As you know, I was nervous at the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, and I made the decision not based on how my head was feeling, how my body was feeling a bit anxious about it. I made the decision to do it kind of more of a spiritual level for me, thinking it was the right thing because I am going to grow and learn from this experience, even though it's scary at the moment and got a bit of hesitation.
I'm trying to draw a diagram or in my head how it works, but if we agree that the starting point is a change, and then there is acceptance process. If we agree with me now that there has to be some sort of acceptance process, then after that, it's where you start learning.
Mm.
How would you know the change is completed?
I wouldn't use the word completed because I think change is always evolving, but I would say you can notice when changes have happened. Let's say with the podcast, the feeling that I have going into the podcast now, like this morning on a Sunday morning, feeling great and looking forward to it, is a different feeling than when we did the first few episodes where I was like, oh my God, I hope I don't say anything stupid. I need to say something good on here. So that you can notice the difference in those two feelings for me. So that's how I know a change has occurred.
What I'm hearing from you is okay, there is a change. Again, it's the graph, imagine a graph here. There is a
Mm,
change, and there is acceptance, and there is a learning, and there is a growth. And the
hmm
moment you acknowledge, oh, I grew, this is how much I grew from this change,
hmm
then doesn't end there, but at least there is like a line of that specific change that happened.
that's first stage of
Yeah.
change. Yeah.
What about changes that are forced on you? And God forbidden, suddenly you lose someone
Yeah.
from your family or someone you love, or you know, how
So
how what can we learn from that?
so I think for me personally, those changes, that acceptance phase is longer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like, if I compare the breakup with my ex to changing to sobriety, I said was a couple of weeks before I started taking in that learning, and the ex took uh, quite a while. So I think it's a bit more challenging that way. There's more uncertainty, so you're gonna feel a little bit more uncomfortable, fearful to that change. So I think the main thing will be how long that period lasts. But again, it depends on people and how severe that event that is thrust upon you is. But I would say personally, that's what I would say the main difference is that time before you can get into that. Okay, now I'm learning from it.
How can we look at grief, for example, if that was forced on us as a change? How can we move to a learning point? So let's say we accepted it, but then what's the learning for us in this change?
Mm. That's a tough one to answer because I haven't personally been through um, that experience, so I can only talk hypothetically about this. But I'd imagine you would by default anyway learn about how you react to grief just by going through the
Yeah,
process.
yeah, it's a good point.
So that's the key thing, there. I'd like to say in my head, God forbid anything happens to my parents in the future, I probably would tend to be the stronger one out of me and my sibling, in terms of dealing with that. But again, that's all hypothetical. I don't know. You don't know until you go through that process. So that would definitely be one learning I would learn, from going through that process. How about you?
Well, I lost my dad when I was 25 years old. I feel like I lost him much earlier than that because he was very ill, and he was very ill since I was 8 years old. So
Mm,
with my dad, things got worse, things got better, things got worse, things got better, and there was a lot of changes involving that, like off to the hospital, at home.
mm,
There were a lot of changes as me as a teenager as well. I remember. But with the grief itself, I'm looking back and I accepted it in a way. I lost my dad, but also a relief that there is a solution because the way he was in the last 3 months of life, it's not a life,
mm,
it's not a quality of life. And you know what? I can talk about my dog as well that I had to put down, because she became so sick. So there is this sadness, and that was that relief as well. And I think that's what I was learning, that it's okay to feel relief.
hmm hmm
It's such a heavy topic to discuss on a Saturday morning,
Yeah.
but it's I think grief as a topic is something we should explore
Mm,
because I read a fantastic book where our thought, which said that our thoughts about death should change, and instead of being in a grief, we should look at it as celebrating of that person's life and
yeah.
try to overcome this and grow from it. But again, this is the learning process, how to handle grief. And I guess with grief change, the acceptance process will be longer. Also, the learning process will be longer.
Yeah, and also each event of grief is going to be different in its own way, so you learn more about yourself in that different situation each time. So yeah, each situation's a new
So,
learning.
so let's leave the grief aside. Let's go back to Sunday morning, feeling cheering up, cheering
Yes.
up and ready for the day. And we talked about changes. So let us know, listeners and viewers, what change means to you. How do you see changes? And do you agree with us? Do you see changes as acceptance, learning, grow, or do you see it as something completely else? Let us know. We would like to hear from you. We have a website, James. Have you checked our website recently?
It looks amazing. I'm going to have to shout out that this was done by Isaac. So I'm just on it. So thank you, Isaac. It looks amazing. And you can let the listeners know what the website is.
thegrowingpair.com. Simple as that.
Great
And
name.
great name, great site. Check it out, and you can get in touch with us via this site. And we would love to hear from you, listeners and viewers. Of course, if you like this, as always, please share, like, comment. We want to grow as the growing pair and make this change for us as well.
What two things are you taking
Oh,
away from this
Oh
podcast,
yes,
Isaac?
two things I'm taking from today episode. The fact we've done it on the Sunday morning makes me feel that we are both committing for that change,
Hmm.
and I would like to thank you for that.
Thank you.
And the second thing is allowed myself with you to draw a graph of how a change looks like, or the process of what change
Mm,
is.
yeah,
So when the moment of the change, whether it's changed by us or forced by us, to the acceptance, learning, and grow, it's it's suddenly like, oh, okay, I understand change better now. What about you?
yeah. Yeah. My first point is definitely having this conversation with you. I feel you raised my awareness for that acceptance phase. So maybe I had quite a kind of idealistic view of, oh yeah, people are going to head into changes, thinking positively, what they can learn, that kind of stuff. But that acceptance phase can be long can be tough for people, and it's, being cognizant and aware that people are going through that stage, and it can be quite a tough acceptance stage for them. So it's definitely something I'm going to keep in mind when I'm having those conversations with friends, colleagues, clients, and things like that. And the final thing was, the word change can mean a bunch of different things. We've covered lots of different topics, all the way from doing the podcast on a Sunday to grief. So, there's so much involved in that, and so many changes we go through ourselves every day in life.
And we need to appreciate that changes and love the changes, even if sometimes it's hard to love them. James, have a lovely, lovely rest of your Sunday.
You too, and the rest, and everyone listening.
And everyone listening, and I shall speak to you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.